Hey, hi. Welcome to the Commonwealth, the Heart Powered Ventures Commonwealth January planning sessions. This is I believe, it's just the fourth of four where we have been working with purpose-driven, heart-powered entrepreneurs and helping them plan for 2021, whatever that might look like, which we're all still sorting out. And we have in the past few weeks talked about figuring out what our offering is, who we marketing to, and how do we reach them. And I have the pleasure and good fortune of bringing someone onto a screen who I talk to probably more often than he'd like, and Rinnie talks to as often as he opens a door. It's my good friend Tom Dalonzo-Baker. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Davey. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, it's good, really good to see you. And also Rinnie as well, who's been working with Tom and working with me, and I think likes Tom more than me, but most people who work with both of us do.
That's
So
understandable. Yeah, that's understandable.
It makes sense. I really.
Thanks for the introduction, Dave. Yeah.
So Tom, I'll give a little personal side, and Tom can talk about what he does, and then we'll get into how we can kind of find and plan our path for 2021. I've known Tom for I don't know how many years. He probably has a better understanding of that. But Tom is a physical therapist, and that's how I first met him, and a phenomenal physical therapist who came up with a total motion release. And I believe we featured you before on the podcast early on when Justin and I were just starting off. And then you can talk more about it, but it was truly transformative for my health and for many others' health as well. And also just in terms of perspective, because without getting too much into it, Tom works to the good, meaning rather than so much trying to fix a problem, he focuses on what's working and goes from there. And there's a lot of wisdom in that, just in terms of being a heart-powered person and a heart-powered entrepreneur as well. But I digress. So Tom has built a phenomenally successful business, which he'll talk about, and for many years has been trying to mentor me and help me along. And for whatever reason, I've just been so stubborn. I'm saying, no, Tom, I don't want to make as much money as you. Let me go back and flounder around for a bit. And finally, with his business, I've got religion. I've come for Tom, and Tom really step by step has just been helping us through this. So a lot of what you see in the success of what we're doing at Heart Powered Ventures with the Commonwealth and the Web Squared, we can trace back to Tom's brilliance and his compassion and passion. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening, finally.
It took a while, but it didn't hurt having Julie pick me up by the head and say, listen to Tom, he's smarter than you are. So anyway, so now instead of just helping me on and helping Rinnie and I and Stephanie and all of us heart-powered people on our ventures, get to help more as well. So Tom, that's a long-winded introduction. I just like to hear myself talk. As you know, we'll probably cut most of that out of there, but I got to say it anyway. So Tom, tell me what you do. First of all, give us an idea of your business and your approach to business, and then we can talk about the planning tips that you're going to be sharing with us today.
Well, so I've been a physical therapist who's owned a business since '99, and then I got into seminars in 2005. But those seminars then came online about 12 years ago. So I've been in the online space before the video, when you take a video and you'd go lift your arm up and it took 20 minutes to get it, see it go up. So I've helped entrepreneurs over this time and myself, because I like helping Dave and Rinnie, because it helps me focus on my own business too. And what it does is it makes me realize how often we all make the same mistakes, right? And I will tell you the one that I find the hardest for entrepreneurs just starting out, or even as we go, is time management of what your purpose and your passion are, like where you're focused on. Like I'm trying to make you, like I'll try to say to Dave and Rinnie, I'm trying to make you laser focused, because initially you are all over the place. And as soon as you see a squirrel, you go chase that, and you think it's all because you don't know the focus that you need to take. And so I always say, if we can get you down to that 30-second elevator speech, so you know exactly who you are. So if you know I wash windows for houses that are over $400,000, right? You will speak to the person who owns a house that's $400,000 and has got dirty windows. And the more you can get to that level of detail, the more And in the beginning, you think, oh no, I help everybody. You don't want to help everybody. You don't even want to be close to helping everybody. All right. And when you get to that point, and this is the hardest thing for us as entrepreneurs, because we're visionaries, right? We want to help everybody. I would tell you, you will help oodles more by focusing on one group. And then as that group needs more stuff, they will ask you for more. So that's what I'd like to talk about. And I'd like to give you guys step by step, because, you know, as Dave and Rinnie and I have gone through, it's about the doingness of things. It's about people can sit here, we can sit here and talk all we want, right? And we as entrepreneurs love to be up in our minds, okay? But the truth is we've got to be, what's the daily activity we're doing, boom, 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 and what is that daily activity taking us to? So what's the project we're working on? Who's it for and what problems it solves?
So I just want to say that before I unleash you to do that, that you have to eat your own cooking, because you've got 6 children.
Yeah.
I don't know how many businesses. You have a business going with your son. You have another separate business going with your brother, and somehow you still are available and accessible when, you know, when it's time to talk. So I can just say that what Tom's talking about isn't theoretical. This is how he lives his life. It has to live his life in order to be able to be as successful as he is, still keep his wife happy, still keep his kids thinking they have a father, and being able to help family members and others with their businesses. So I just want to put a little gold star on your forehead and say that you're
Yeah.
talking from it, not about it. So educate us.
Educate us. All right. So what I'd like to talk to you guys about is 3 things. All right. I want you to know that I say 3 things, but it's one path. People say, hey, get out there and do one thing. And I go, it's not really one thing. It's one path that you want to really figure out. And you're going to hear people say, you got to get your market, your message, and your media. But let me explain that in detail so that you know that I always think of it like this. What's my subject line going to be on my email? In order to get that subject line, I got to know the people I'm going for and the problem I'm solving. Okay, so I think of the action step, the tagline that's going to get them there. Before I can write that, I got to know the group of people I'm helping and the problem I'm helping. So I'm going to say it with physical therapy, for example. I could say that I want to help women that run, that are over 40, that have foot pain. Right? And that literally, what I just described can be my subject line. That's how exactly. And now, what that's really cool. Hey, are you a lady over 40 that runs and is suffering with foot pain? Okay. And from that avenue, then, guess what? I then focus into who or where I find these people. Where do they congregate? Right? So running clubs, right? Running shoe stores, running groups on Facebook. But you see how it trickles down, and all of a sudden, what appeared to be, oh, I can help everybody, now focuses, because most of you guys, when you're starting, you're one person, maybe 2. You don't have the time to not focus at all. Okay. And so if you get that narrowed down, you'll know, like, for example, let's say you're going to do something with food. Right now, I'd say, okay, who are you going to sell food to? Okay. Are you going to sell it to retail stores? Are you going to sell it to people who, okay, well, I'm going to do cupcakes. I'm going to do specialized cupcakes. Great. So I'm going to go to bakeries, or I'm going to go to cupcake places and sell them my cupcakes or something. So you get to focus right down into the people you need to target. So if I'm doing women that run, all my time is focused on finding those people. And now, because I focus it so much, I go, they do it. They congregate here, 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 and here. Okay, so there's your market. So think about your headline of a subject, or a subject line of an email. In order to get there, think about who exactly you want to help. Separate it from gender, separate it from amount of money they make, separate it from an injury if you're there, separate the type of cookie they like to eat, whatever, get it right down to that level. And then everything else takes care of itself. Because as you're saying, where do they congregate and how do I want to reach them? That's so the first part for me, my market is, let's just keep with that women of 40 that are running. all right, and they got foot pain. So now let's look at, I already said my message, all right, I want that, so because my market defined my message, and now what media do I want to use? Do I want to use email? Do I want to use Facebook groups? Do I want to do ads? Do I want to actually just, you know, be a brick and mortar or get out there talking to these people? So for me, I could go, wow, I just need a bunch of people that have foot pain. I'm going to go to foot doctors. I look in I Google foot doctors in Raleigh, North Carolina, and ching, 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 there's 7 or 8 people. Okay, great. Now, do I want to go and talk to all those doctors, or can I find those doctors' emails or somehow get in touch with these people through LinkedIn and talk to all 10 of those foot doctors? Now,
So go ahead. No, I was going to say, no, go ahead. You're on a roll. Finish your talk.
so what that does, and you've got to keep coming back to that almost weekly. Now, what is it my tagline is? Who's my market? Am I right this second doing that? Because Dave can tell you, I don't know how many times I have to say to him, you're squirreling, you're chasing another one, you're chasing something else. This isn't the path. Because what we have to do, and he'll tell you, I'm really good at saying no, but I'm not. He's gotten me years out of me being able to be somehow nicely saying I can't do that. Because what it means is you have to build barriers so that you stay focused on that. Let's say all of a sudden somebody goes, well, you know what? Golly, I could get you a ton of knee pain people. Or, hey, I could, you know what about knee pain? I've got knee pain. You might go, oh yeah, I can help your knee. Because in the beginning, you're desperate, right? In a way, you say, oh, I can help them and stuff too. To really is stay true to your river. So instead, I call it your one path, your one river. Do boundaries. Because all of a sudden, if you go, oh, I'm going to do feet and knees, you've just doubled your workload. You've dispersed your laser now into 2 focus lasers. And when it's like that, you just can't put a foot in each canoe and get very far across the lake.
So this is really interesting because so much of what we do with Heart Powered Ventures is we do attract people that are working from the heart, that are passionate about something, and want to and take great pleasure out of connecting and making people better, making the world better. And as you say, that's like, oh my God, I could do this. You know, instead of doing the Commonwealth group, I could go out and be talking about, you know, whatever it is, the environment and this and so there's that, but there's also a way that I found working with you and also, you know, living a long life and working with other entrepreneurs, that when you focus in on that one passion, on the passion, that if you could find one avenue for that passion that really speaks to you, it's incredibly satisfying. And you find yourself, you know, in a way, it's almost like the more that I find what's mine to do, you know, that I've targeted that, the more that passion that previously had me going out and trying to do everything at one time is actually focused and satisfying.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like let's just say this. Oh, my light's blinking here. Let me just say this: is a lot of times you go, well, I don't want to do feet. I don't want to do feet forever. Well, choose something specific that you can be really good at, because the depth, rather than spreading out and getting a ton of leaves, go deep and get a one solid long butt root, if you will. All right, and know from that avenue from there that so much more will come out of it. I think it was Damon from Shark Tank. I can't think of his last name. He went and did his shirt company, and he was going to sell shirts to everybody, and he was going to sell all sorts of shirts. And then Under Armour came, and they had one type of shirt. It was an Under Armour, right? Sweat. It took care of whatever it did. And he goes, they became a $1 billion company when he became a, you know, millions of dollar company. So I will tell you, if you're going to go do something, just refine it. You'll be amazed how much fun it becomes after that. Because what it'll do, if you get down narrow enough, it will instantly take you to your action steps. Until that point in time, you won't have action steps. It's almost like by saying, I'm going to do 40-year-old women that run, all right? What did I say? Make X amount of money or something, and they have foot pain. Narrows it right down and tells me, this is what I have to do now. And it's beautiful from there. Okay. And
I
then
think a couple of points I just want to make, because I'm anticipating how we squirrel-minded, you know, heart-powered people go.
Yep.
is one to realize you're not going to be doing feet forever. In a way you can look at it like, this is my immersion in the market. This
Right.
is the way that I learn.
It's the way that it makes you the expert at blah. So
Right.
I had one of my students that he took and he did sciatica and piriformis. So it's back pain and this muscle that oftentimes causes back pain. And he's got 9,000 people on his Facebook group now. I have another person who decided they're going to do Osgood Slaters, which is knee pain in kids. And he's around the world doing this stuff. And it's fascinating to see because he took that one niche. Like, I would like to do strokes that the people can't lift their arm above 30 degrees. Right? Just target those people and say, I'll get you above 190, 120, 140 degrees.
Tom?
And a whole different avenue. Yeah.
So our niche is really to work with heart-centered entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs. And that feels very broad and wide. And it could be anybody, really. I mean, most people are going to say, hey, I am in business because I am passionate about it. How do we narrow that down to speak to the kind of people we want to bring into the
First of all, I love that question because that's what you guys should be. Go, oh, wait, I've been thinking this broad thing. Now, how do I take it, go down? Now you can say, well, what type of people do you like to work with? Now, I'm going to give an easy part. Let's just say, well, dag, or even sometimes it's better to find out what more easily you can get. Let's say you can get a list of realtors. They're so easy to get realtors or dentists or doctors or who's in your field that you can get these emails or addresses of, and you can go, boom, that's who I'm going to do with. But like you guys, heart powered, and you think spiritual. Okay. And then you say, okay, so if I'm going to go spiritual, what kind of businesses are the spiritual people running? Okay. And you can take from spiritual and go down to X number and say, okay, those who are life coaches. All right. And then you can go down, and I'm just saying this is one avenue you could go. You could then say, okay, heart powered, you know what? I want to go with the executives making over $500,000 that don't like their life anymore. They don't have any time freedom anymore. So, okay, so great. Are you in a business making, let's say, $200,000 or more, but have no time? Okay. Now you might define what type of executive do you want that to be, right? So that because you can tell, oh, I just said executive. Where do I look for executives? Okay, what kind of executive? What area of industry? Tech executive? I don't know. Realtors making that kind of money? Doctors making that kind of money? Who?
Yeah. Our network of entrepreneurs, we've got artists, we've got chefs, we have real estate, financial planners, skincare company. So we have like an incredibly diverse range of people that we're working with already. Life coaches, spiritual directors, authors, so we're kind of all over the place as we are beginning the company. So would you say that as we continue, we should kind of hone that out?
Well, we've talked about in the past that if you guys hone into co-working spaces, right? So there's a way that for you guys, what we talked about is, hey, I want entrepreneurs that are in co-working spaces and, maybe working alone in co-working spaces and feel like they want to have a direction and a focus. Now you get right into, hey, I can go out, I can look at co-working spaces.
Okay.
You see, co-working spaces still keep it broad, right? You guys also narrowed your focus down into, you want to give out scholarships to Black entrepreneurs. Okay. Notice that's very simple to bring it right down into the focus. Okay. So now where do I go? Who do I want to go to now? Now you can then talk about, now we want to get people who will sponsor those. Okay. How do we say that? And you just keep hammering that down, and it just presents now your action steps. Because the best thing to do now is really to brainstorm, and you continually to brainstorm, because what you'll do is you'll find out all of a sudden, you go, yeah, we're a little unclear on this part. Maybe that's why we don't know what we're supposed to do right now.
And what I see too, there's a great point that you two have both made. which is that it seems like, okay, I'm going after 40-year-old women with who run with foot pain and it seems like, oh my God, this is so formulaic, but it's still being driven by your passion. You actually have to want to work with those people.
Mhm.
If you really want to work with 50 to 25-year-old guys, super athletes, then you're not, so one, they're not mutually exclusive in terms of getting focused.
You define your heart.
Right.
You define it.
And then I could see, and the other thing that I realized just from yesterday's Commonwealth meeting is that once you get into it, you and I talk about don't figure out, find out. That once you get in there and you say, I'm picking this market, I'm going with there, here's my tagline, I'm going in there, then you'll start to be informed in ways that don't necessarily take you off track. I mean, that's what I found working with you, is you can take data in that informs your direction and maybe even alters your direction without getting off direction.
Yeah, I can, like, so you guys don't know, so Dave and I have sat and sit down and I listen to what he's saying and what he wants to do, and I let him keep talking until I go, boom, he just said something really important, right? And I take that down. But that's what I'm saying is that, so when you guys break out into groups or you break out by yourself and you're trying to write things down, the biggest thing is make it be that email subject line. Because in order to do it, you have to know your market that you want to do. All right. And by knowing that market, you keep narrowing, and you'll keep narrowing down. Initially, you're bigger, and then you go down and you go down and you go, boom, that's exactly the group. And you'll notice that it probably plays more on your heart than anything. Like, I've done lots of things right now. And for me to say, I'm going to do stroke patients that can't lift their arms above 30 degrees. Why would I want to do that when I could treat the whole stroke? Because I know stroke patients, one of the most difficult things they do is try to lift their arm above 30 degrees. So if I give them hope that all of a sudden we get them up to 120 degrees, 150 or 160, boom, do you think they're going to want to do the rest of the stuff with me too? Right? So if I come and I mow your lawn and I do a really great job and I happen to mention that I also clean gutters, you think you're going to want to do that with me if need be? Right, but I still would say, hey, I don't do gutters yet if I haven't hammered home my lawn mowing business yet.
So let me run something by you. This is fresh. I didn't expect to be the subject. I expected to be the more the moderator. So one thing that became clear, and I talked a little bit about this before I got on this call and a different call, is that we're a laboratory. Okay, that the Commonwealth is a collaboration. The people yesterday, what happened is it's almost like we threw away the model and everyone was just helping each other with their businesses. And we were brainstorming in real time. And I realized that's what people really want to do.
Yeah. So
we're not,
good.
So just to finish my thought, and then I'm going to shut up. So to me, I thought, okay, I'm not just working with entrepreneurs who want to be like the Unabomber and sit in there, just sit behind a computer all day and just play with stuff or whatever. I want people who want to collaborate. I want people who want to co-create. I want people who want others to co-create with them and create a living laboratory of co-creation for purpose-driven entrepreneurs.
Yep. So with that said, like if you're in groups, I think one of the biggest things you can do is who are you so that I can know, oh my gosh, Rinnie, loves to paint sidewalks. So if I find somebody who paints sidewalks, great, Rinnie's definitely the person. So if you're not focused enough, I don't know who to send to you. Me, even as your friend. So I was working with worked with two entrepreneurs, and they just didn't have their definition of who they were and who they wanted to work with. And I said, you're too broad. I don't know. Are you building the house? Are you the framer? Are you digging the ditches? What are you doing? And I can't get you help. So like when you guys are in the groups, what I recommend is refine that so that if Dave heard your subject line, he'd go, Dag, next time I run into a 40-year-old with foot pain and there's a runner, you're definitely getting one. Or, see, because I can now help you more. If I have 800 colored pens and I say, pick one, oh, maybe this. And you're thinking, well, maybe it would have been better to have this one. Maybe it would have been better to this. And you would take all this time, right? And I'm saying, pick one so I know that this is the color pen you like to use. And now go use it with everything you're going to do, okay? And that will teach you more about yourself, more about life, because it's hard to stay focused when you don't have a focus. If you don't have the mission that's in front of you, okay, you will get lots of missions. Life will give you lots of missions. So just stay there and know from that one thing, you will learn so much about life. Okay, you will learn so much about who you are. But I will tell you this, when you're struggling, you'll think there's something wrong with this. When it's really, it's usually something wrong with what you're not saying no to. So I started by saying, I define what I want to do and I put up boundaries so that the water flows so that I'm moving. And then a lot of times I have to say no to the things that aren't the 40-year-old runners. Okay. I just got to say, no, this is my focus. Like, for example, my boy and I do marketing. All right. But we have a program that pretty much does past patients, gets them back in the door, reactivates them. It does Facebook ads and Google ads. And it's like $300 a month. Do you know how many people in the last couple of days said, can you do it all for us? Can you just do it, not let us we don't want to do anything. Now, I will tell you, that can be more lucrative, right? We could be making $2,500 a month rather than $300 a month. And I said to my boy, I said, you focused in that you wanted this for the reason of you're in school. You like working with people, but you don't necessarily like being in charge of their thing because all of a sudden their front desk doesn't do what you want and you have no control over them. What do you want? He goes, I don't want that. Even though the lure of getting bigger dollars is a higher thing, he goes, this is what I like doing. So I'm trying, I got him to know what he needed to say no to before he got asked the question. All right, because I still say you can still do full service, but you haven't even gotten many people on the $300 a month thing yet. Let's just focus there because that's going to take all your attention away. And then you've got this 300. So it's going to take you away from your river. So he goes, oh, okay, that's easy, Daddy. Boom. They're simple. He goes, okay, go. Because I said, well, you could do this way. He goes, I already told him no. And I go, good boy.
How old's your son?
He's 18, but he's been doing this with me since he was 12.
So
he's got a third of his life knowing how to do digital marketing. That's online marketing and Facebook stuff. Than more than most people out there doing it.
So I still keep sending over the adoption papers for me, but you won't sign them.
You got to listen to me first, You gotta
come on, I've been good.
You've been good. That's right. You've been good. Adoption's getting close.
Okay, cool. And besides, I might leave you in my will too, so it could all work out. But Tom, I want to make a point. I want to thank you because there's so much more we could talk about, but I want to save some of this for later. But I want to make sure this point wasn't lost because it's hard-won wisdom for all of us and for a lot of the people that you and I have mentored, which is that when you focus and it doesn't work, well, no, let me put it in form of a question. That's even better. So if you decide you're going to work with women with a foot pain and the dog's not eating the dog food, you're not selling it. So there's a point there you're thinking, oh, well, I want to go chase the next squirrel.
Yeah.
Another point where you think, oh my God, I'm actually chasing the wrong squirrel. So is there anything, how do you, what advice would you give for someone who is not getting that and wants to make sure they're not being distracted at the same time they're not being stubborn?
That's a good question. Hold on, I got to grab something.
Okay.
So there's 7 steps that I have in therapy, okay, that guides any person, any clinician through. So it's laminated and stuff like that. And that's what I'm going to go through. But what it does is I constantly go back to this. Somebody asked me a question. All right. So I can, this may be something, Dave, you and I want to talk about, is that the first one is we make sure we test the whole body before we do anything. Somebody comes with back pain, we're not just testing the back. Somebody comes in with foot pain, we're also testing the shoulders and the neck and the ribs and everything. So we test the whole thing. So when you guys start out, you should be testing, what is that like? And you'll throw a bunch of things, possibilities up there until one sticks and says, that's the group of people I want to work with. Okay. Then the next one says, test the area of injury. So like somebody comes in with foot pain, now I'm going to start testing their foot a bunch. So you may be, okay, look, I have selected this group that I want to work with. Now let's analyze it a little bit more. You know, the 40-year-old ladies, where do they hang out? What do they do? You know, boom, boom, boom. And then the next part for me is score it. So for you, it'd be like rank it. Rank which group of people, you know, you did a bunch of things that you might want to work with. And then you said ladies with foot pain. And you go, okay, good. Where do I find them? And you get a bunch of lists going. And now you rank those. Okay, I want to work with foot stores. I know that I got a lot of sneaker stores. They have a lot of presentations. I want to we work with running club. Running club's number 1. Number 2 is the foot store. Number 3 is the doctors. Number 4, so you rank them. All right, and the next thing for me says go out and treat. For you would be go out and do it. And what happens is that's not done. I can tell you the number of times I've met with Dave. I can tell you the number of times I've met with my other entrepreneurs, right? Is that I look back at the steps and I go, all right, Dave, we kind of analyzed this was going to be your thing, but now you're talking about you want to do another type of thing. I said, so you're jumping away from your focus and now you're creating another one. And I said, it happens all the time. Don't take it like I'm beating on you, but here's what you're doing. Okay. And the reason you're doing it is because you're really not doing step number 4, which is do the stuff. Okay. Because then you come back. What happens is after that, once you do something, you come back and it says retest all your stuff. So come back and retest. Okay, this was what I wanted to do. This is the group I wanted to have. I have now gotten 100 people that I've talked to, and only one person wanted to do it. Okay, do I have to take my message and make it more clear? Do I have to do this? Don't think it's wrong. All right. Now I'm going to pull back.
I want to make a quick point because I think this is again, we talked about this before from my own work working with entrepreneurs. Yep. Is that they love the thinking part, they start doing it, and then they want to go back to the thinking because they know the thinking's easy.
Dreaming's easy, baby. And dreaming's fun. Creating new things is what we love to do, and it's our biggest, double-edged sword.
And, I'm just thinking about people that have just recently been in the Commonwealth group, and many of the ones who have not re-upped got to the point where they were doing, and then they didn't want to do anymore.
Yeah,
they wanted to go back to the dreaming.
Yes. Yeah, because you can't get. And what typically happens is they didn't refine it enough. And what we're always going back to. So when somebody calls me up and they say, "Hey, Tom, I'm having trouble with a patient," I go through these steps with them. Again, these steps are rules of the universe. They aren't just with rehab. These are the 7 steps to basically make anything better or make anything worse, I suppose. But I go through and I say, tell me exactly what you did. Okay, good. Tell me what you refined. Tell me what you didn't do. And we go through and we find out they broke away and they just needed focus. They just needed, okay, wait, you said you wanted 40-year-old women with foot pain. And then you said you wanted to do running clubs. And I say, so how many running clubs did you go to? Well, you know what? I started talking to this guy, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, last week we said you were going to visit 10 running clubs. Did you? No. I'm not saying you weren't busy, but you weren't busy on the end goal. So my job's not to hit you anymore. My job's simply because right now, the firmness has to happen. I got 6 kids, right? I know how to be firm and get something done. So I say to them, boom, look, big deal. So you didn't do it. So now you know. But because you didn't, your mind goes, I was supposed to do this. I didn't do it. Shame on me. And then we get, boom. What happens to your own soul, your own heart, when you know you were supposed to do something, it was for your own good and you didn't do it? Right? Think about it. If you like to eat healthy and then you don't eat healthy, right? You kind of feel a little bit blah and your mind goes elsewhere. So heart powered, right, takes a lot of effort to be honest. Okay. And that's what, when you meet with groups, your honesty should be right there. Wait a second, Dave, you said these 7 things were going to happen last week and they didn't. Why not? And if you listen to all their comments about why they didn't, and you go off on each one of these things, you'll go crazy with them. You simply say, okay, not why didn't you do it? You'd say, can we get back to those 7 and get those things to me for next week? Good. Right. Because then when you're in a state of awe and happiness, and then you've done it, you will notice the next step comes. Here's what I need to, here's the obstacles I ran into. I got these 7 people. Here's what I learned from it. They will motivate you and excite you, but at the same time, they will motivate, excite you, and sometimes distract you. So you get rid of the distraction. You need somebody there to help you get rid of the distraction. Say, what was my target again? What was my help again? Oh, yeah, okay. And that's where the Commonwealth is so beautiful, in the sense of, if you guys just listen to the dream, knock it off, okay? Listen to what they got down to and the steps they do, and hold their feet in the fire and get them to freaking do it. Because don't let them go to something new without having won at what they said they were going to win on. They can change their mind when they win. They're not allowed to change their mind when they haven't done the thing. Be in a place of power and make a decision from. Do not make a decision from failing. It sucks to fail, but you're the only one in charge of failing. You can say, oh, there's no such thing as failing. And I get it. I agree. Make the decisions once you've done.
Yeah, it's we always say, get a win. Everybody needs a win.
And so, you're in charge of what you suffice down. This is win. And just make sure they're small enough to say, okay, I'm going to get 4 people or 5 people. Or what oftentimes is we cram a lot of stuff in the time. Like we'll say, we're going to get 10 people. And then you start doing it. You're like, oh my God, getting 10 people. Okay, I'm going to do 2 this week and 2 next week and 2 next week and 2 next week. And by the end of the month, I'm going to make it 10.
So finish up. I want you to so what number are we on your 7? Or do we get to the end?
Really, it's 1 through 5 are the most important ones where you retest. There's some rules that you go through, like say something got better, worse, or something unchanged. There's things to do about that. And then there's the rules about when do you get to move to the next thing. So we kind of talked about it in some regard. Like, when do you get to move to the next thing? When you've won the last one, okay? And you've learned from it, and it'll usually tell you. But we're constantly going back to retesting what was our focus again? Do we need to hash that out? Do we need 40-year-old women? That's perfect. Okay, with blonde hair, all right, and whatever, blue eyes, right? They have glasses. Good, so and it literally can become that.
So Tom, I want you, before we go, I want you to just repeat the 5 steps quickly, because for us, they blend into a process. And
yeah, for the process, the first one would be, just throw a bunch of things against the wall that you want, like subject lines, right? The market that you want, and narrow it right down so nobody could doubt at all who you wanted. So 40-year-old women, you might say, well, what do they look like, right? So I said blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever you want, right? Boom. That's getting a little too detailed, but it gets you the idea of it. Okay, great. How much do you want to make? A certain amount of money? Do you want them running a certain number of miles? Okay, that's number 1 is you're just throwing up. Do I want knee pain? Do I want this? Do I want to sell cookies or cupcakes or blah? Pick one thing that you're awesome at, right? And you say, but I'm a baker. I don't want to just make brownies. Well, just make brownies for your first thing, right? Make it be. And then number 2, now we analyze. So the first one is find your thing, okay? Number 2 is analyze it deeper, okay? Refine it even deeper. And then when you do, like I said, 40-year-old women with foot pain that are runners, okay, that instantly now scores, and I can say, where do I find them? So step number 2-ish will get you to where do you find them. Number 3 is score or rank them, what you should be doing. And then it says start exercising. For me, it would be make your list. If you said number 1, going to running clubs was the most important, your next step is find all the running clubs in your area, okay, on Google, make a list and visit 3 of them. And then finish the list by the end of the month. So start doing is a thing. So it literally takes you to it. And then you go back up and above. And this is where people get lost in, is they go back and test their theory. Okay, is this now, based on what I learned, is this what I want to do? Did I learn enough stuff? Boom, yes. Okay, hash it out. 40-year-old women that are runners. You know what? It really seems like the ones that I talk to, if they actually have to be running, that you've done at least 5 races. So I know that they're dedicated, right? Or they've run 3 times this year or something, or they run 20 miles a week. Good, awesome. Okay, good. Now I know my target audience even more. And just think about when I now make a marketing sheet or I make an ad, it's going to speak to the people I want to come through.
Okay.
Good. And then the last thing, once you do your doing this, you go back through it again. And that's it, and repeat.
But it's beautiful because this is actually your physical therapy process that you've developed that you've now take out into the world, because it's exactly what you've done with me.
Correct.
Which is why I'm a month away from 69 and I still look like I'm 40, and that's all thanks to Tom Dalonzo-Baker. What he did for me, he could do for you. So
Don't
Tom,
make him, he's not my poster child. No.
you could do voice.
That's right.
So Tom, I just want to thank you a ton. Really, it's just for everything you're doing for us and for everyone else. And I know your heart, I know your wisdom, and Rinnie and I are just so grateful to have you in our world.
You're awesome.
Yes, thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate how willing you are to sit down anytime we need you to go through things and to remind us what our path is when we like see that squirrel and start chasing after some other path.
You're very welcome. You guys, you have to understand, and this is why the Commonwealth is so vital and important. By me sharing, it helps me focus my own business. By you guys sharing to each other, helps you focus your own business. By having somebody there to actually hold your feet in the fire makes your business better. So the Commonwealth and what you guys do together, again, just take these steps, and Dave and I can, and Rinnie and I can, outline these more for you guys. And hopefully that's what your Commonwealth will be, that you're like, man, this is pretty cool, because it's powerful what you guys are doing there.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So don't